everything around genocide is a fundamental legal principle. Once it's breached or there's a risk of a breach, it creates a worldwide duty to act upon it. And that's what South Africa has acted on. If there are signatories to the Genocide Convention, we signatories, Britain included, obviously had a duty to, in our domestic law, create the relevant criminal offences to be able to prosecute incitement to commit genocide. What South Africa has drawn to everyone's attention and asking the court to look at is what is the risk to Palestinian life if this doesn't stop now, if you don't order Israel to stop its current actions in the Gaza Strip. Just have a glimpse into the future. We're looking at starvation. We're looking at many babies not being able to survive their first few days. We're looking at many mothers, pregnant mothers, not being able to make it through to the end of the term. We're looking at more and more children dying. We're looking at the squeezing of more and more Palestinians into tinier spaces. We're looking at further destruction of the infrastructure in northern Gaza. What South Africa have said is, look, what we need to show you at this stage, we don't need to prove at this point that genocide has taken place. What we need to show you is that there's a plausible legal argument that genocide is taking place, a plausible legal argument, and allied to that, that there's a risk to the life of Palestinians as an entity, that genocidal acts could take place or continue to take place if the court doesn't take provisional measures, doesn't indicate provisional measures in the language of the application to Israel to cease what it's doing. First of all, they have to show that they've got standing to make this application, which I believe they will be able to show. Then they need to show that they have a plausible argument in relation to genocide. No more than that at this stage. It's, as you say, the actual case will go on for years. It's far too early for them to decide it. Does this pass the test of plausibility? And in my view, again, because of this strong evidence and this strong evidence of intent, we're past that point. But it's at least plausible. That's all they need to show. It's very strong evidence of intent, and the intent is matched by the actions here. And normally you have to go the other way. You have to look at the events, look at the underlying alleged criminality and say, can we infer, is there enough evidence to validly, appropriately infer from the alleged criminal act the relevant intent to destroy part or all of a national, ethnic, religious, etc. group? Here, I agree with you. The evidence of intent is remarkably strong and continues to be. And the question for the court will be, if there's a plausible argument, have South Africa convinced us that the risk to Palestinian life in Gaza is so urgent, it needs such urgent action that we will indicate provisional measures. And that's what the ruling that we'll wait for, hopefully later in January. Once the court makes the order, there's a domestic impact on everyone in certainly all signatories of the Genocide Convention, but I would say all countries will at that point been alerted. There's a plausible argument for genocide. They will, because that will have to be the finding. And there's a requirement, a legally binding order on Israel, which affects everyone. So anyone assisting Israel at that point will be in breach of that order, in my view, and of the convention. So there'll be opportunities for legal action. We could have worldwide litigation if states don't do what they should do, which is stop assisting Israel in any way whatsoever in breaching that order. So there will be legal ripples across the globe of any such order. There are ways in which I would hope, and I believe there will be, a series of consequences for domestic legal systems and the international stage to require Israel to comply with that order. We've got to hope that. Otherwise, the international legal order is again being put under threat by the kind of actions that, in my view, a rogue state at that point. And I believe we've reached a position where Israel can be called a rogue state, but it will put itself in a different league of rogue states if it then chooses to completely ignore this binding order. Where the evidence supports war crimes charges, crimes against humanity charges, genocide charges, I believe there is a day when some of these suspects will face court. And there are several reasons why I retain a hope that the rule of law will be upheld. And I was involved in cases seeking arrest warrants in this country. Those were judicial arrest warrants. The judiciary, once presented, if they get the opportunity to be presented with the evidence, they will look at the evidence and properly assess what's going on. What we need to do is get these in front of courts so that the era of impunity comes to an end. And we owe it. Humanity requires that these laws are upheld, because it's a terrible vista to think through the consequences of not holding people to account. So it has to happen. In my view, it will happen. It's only a matter of time.